Okay, welcome to VO Tech Simplified, and today we're going to talk a little bit about internet connections and getting your home studio working. And some of this just comes out of somebody had a three-story house, a three-story townhouse, I believe, and their studio's in the basement. So they ask a question about the networking and Wi-Fi, 3 floors, and that kind of thing. And I realized, hey, we should talk about that because there's some good best practices and things that can make your life easier. And I'll show you some of the stuff that I have set up on mine, and just be sure to ask some questions if it's helpful, and we'll answer them. Okay. So first thing, almost everyone's running under Wi-Fi, but before we even get to our Wi-Fi, we have to have an internet connection with our ISP. And there are some different things that you can get. Most of us all over the country and around the world can get cable modems. And what does that mean? It's that our cable provider is also in the business of dealing with internet connections. And in my case, I don't order the TV service. I just use the internet for everything. And so I have switched. John, all right, thank you. Audio and video are working. Appreciate that feedback. Always super helpful. So what you really want to do is I'll just shortcut it. If you have the availability in your area to get fiber, do so. Okay. It is superior to cable simply because fiber offers the same speed up and down. Almost all of the ISPs advertise their download speed, and it's a maximum speed. And it's kind of like, well, the speedometer on your car says it can go 120 or 150 maybe, or whatever, 170. And I've never tested the limits of those things. But that's the theoretical limit that your car could go. And unless you run it over in Germany or a few places where there are no speed limit, not many in this country, you're not going to use it to the max in terms of what your car could theoretically do. And there's almost always a governor on them these days. So your internet speed, there's a theoretical max, and then there's what you get. And I'll give you a couple examples. For example, in my case, I have a 2 gig connection. I think it's 2.5 gig to my ISP. Maybe it's 2. I don't know. It's 2.5. I don't remember. And then there's some different options once it gets into your building. And then I have a router that goes ahead, and then I have a 1 gig connection from my router directly hardwired to this computer because I just do Zoom all the time. I'm online, almost every single day. And so I pay for a much, they make a 5 gig connection under fiber, and it's symmetrical, meaning the upload speed and the download speed are identical. So one of the things that you'll definitely want to get is something called speed test. And you can speed test, when you can download a thing called speed test. I think it's at speedtest.com. You think I would know that? I don't know that for sure, but I'm going to verify that right now. We'll see. Is it speed test? There is a Windows version. There might be one for the Mac. It's this one, OOKLA, speed test, free download. And I'm there, and there's the one for Windows. There's one. They have one that's also that's not for that you can use over the web. Speed test. I don't want the Windows app. I just want speed test. There it is. Speedtest.net. See, I thought I didn't know what that one. All right. And what you can see here is it has a bunch of advertisement. I have the app itself downloaded on mine. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to change server. I like to go to a place in Dallas for me because it's 1,200 miles away. And I'll just run this little test here. And this thing will only show up to 100. And boom. And I'm going 1,000, 1,200 miles away from me. And what you can see, I'm actually going to max out what my network card can do. And that's not really true. I'm maxing out what my router, what I have plugged in at my router, which is a 1 gig connection to my router. And since I'm hardwired to it, what you'll see is upload speed, download speed, they're going to be almost identical by the time this thing is done. And that's the beauty of having fiber. So if you can get it. Now, I had a cable modem for years, and that works. And this one's just running in the browser and works great. And you get some ads and some other stuff, but it's really nice to know. You can get it on your phone as well, both Android and Apple and uh, iOS. And so the thing about that is then you can test it off your phone, but then of course it's always Wi-Fi. And what's happening, I did before this, I turned off my network card and I did a speed test earlier, and now this is the same thing through the app. The cool thing about the app is it keeps your history. And there is a way to log in over here. I can't remember how to do that just because I don't use this one. But you can have it keep from session to session, and that's pretty cool. That does help. And I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to take the one here, and if I run the same thing, I'll just do it one more time. And while that's running, it's connecting. It's literally 1,200 miles away, and it's going to run that same test, and it'll get the same exact numbers every single time because fiber is just amazing. What I'm actually doing is running to the limit of the piece of the connection on my router. I'm maxing out what my router can do on a single port, even though the connection coming in from my ISP is 2 gigs, 2.5 gigs. I can't remember. The wire and and each of the places it plugs in has a max as well, and I have a 1 gig max. And then so that means my computer that I'm talking to you on today is getting these exact numbers, 940, 950, right in there. And when I go to the history, I've run previous tests, and you can see right down here, this third one I ran approximately 30 minutes ago. And when I ran that one, I'm at 392 and 185. And what I did was I switched my machine over to Wi-Fi between me and my router. And I have a really high-end router. I'll show you that. I have a very good router. And I'm sitting probably 25 feet away from it, maybe 30 feet away from it, 10 yards away, not very far. And you can see the drop off. I get about half from the download speed, and I get 20% on the upload speed, roughly. Okay, so just going to Wi-Fi as opposed to having a piece of wire, these things are hyper reliable. If I turn off my Wi-Fi right now, if I turn off my hardwired connection, and then my machine will just automatically switch to Wi-Fi. So that's fine. It'll switch back and forth, but I get a lot less throughput. Now this is enough throughput for 95% of the people out there, probably more than that. 98% of the people don't need more than this. I just use mine a lot, doing a lot of this sort of thing. And when you go to upload things to clients or download things from clients when they send you huge WAV files, this is just a dream to have all this bandwidth because it just comes down insanely quick. You're limited by other things on the internet. And so if you can get cable, do it. Okay, now once it comes into your home, then you've got a couple other things that you do. Hey, Jason, glad you're here. Appreciate you too. So once it gets into your place, then you've got a bunch of things that are going to happen at that end. So the cable modems, now they sell us kind of a bill of goods a little bit, and I've had them and they do work. And so we have cable modems, okay? And there's a lot of different options here. And by the way, your ISP, this is one of the things that they do. The ISP has a tendency to use one of the cheapest modems that are out there, 79 bucks. I mean, I don't want to say they don't care. They just want whatever the minimum they can get you. Since this one will do up to 1.4 gigabits a second, that's more than most people would have on cable anyway. So they don't need to send you, a really high-end device in order to deal with that. Now, what most of them do give is a combined, do I have that one over here? I think I do. No, I didn't. I'm going to do one. This is a combined modem, and here, we'll just start with this one. This is a combo. What this is the cable modem comes in, and then it also will do Wi-Fi 6, and it's 170 bucks, 200 bucks. There's some different ones. And you can see on the back, they've got some ports, so you can hardwire from this all the way. Once you go Wi-Fi, you have two things going for you, or going against you. The Wi-Fi is subject to whatever my neighbors have. And if my neighbors put in a high performance router at some point, it could interfere with mine. If I'm in a place where there's a lot of other people close to my house, then their Wi-Fi can be seen from your house. How about if I pull up my connection? I'll bet you Internet connections. I came up on my others. Let me see if I can see. I know my phone, for example. If I pull up on my phone, I can see all the other Wi-Fi that's around me and view all network. Let me see this. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I don't see it on my. Oh, it's well. I guess my Wi-Fi would see the local things, but it's not showing me all the networks of my neighbors. Now I pull it up on my phone. I see all my neighbors' stuff. I don't think you really care. You trust me on that. If I pull up the Wi, you can do it on your phone too. You can see, and what happens is Wi-Fi can conflict with the neighbor's Wi-Fi, and it doesn't conflict. What it does is it has some contention. It'd be like the same thing as if I go out. Live here in LA. I go out during rush hour. Can I get where I want to go? Sure. It might take a little longer. All right, there could be an accident. But pretend there's no accidents, but there's heavy traffic. Yeah, things slow down a little bit most of the time compared to if you have a hardwired connection. You can get the max that your hardware will deal with, and that's what I have in my case. And I recommend that if you can pull that off. But if you can't, then most of the time they'll give you the modem, and then they charge you for the router. And here's what I recommend. I'll show you a couple. Let me see this one. This is another one. This is a higher end one, and so that costs more, of course. This is the router that I actually have on my place right now. This is my main router. It's a little bit more expensive, but I wanted to have throughput. And even with this high-end gaming router, and by the way, I have a tendency to buy gaming routers, and simply because people that do gaming, they just need a lot of, they want the fastest stuff that's going. And so my primary router is 350 bucks. And that's what allows me to get the hardwire connection here. And this is the Wi-Fi speed I get with a really high-end router. Okay, it's amazing how much you get for your money these days. We would have killed for this 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I mean, it's just you couldn't get this kind of thing if you go back 10 years. So even under Wi-Fi, it's pretty darn good. But I have a couple walls between me and where this is, and note that Wi-Fi works like an umbrella. I didn't really understand this in the early days, but wherever your Wi-Fi is, it has a tendency to spread out and go down. It does not like to go up. It has much less ability to go up than it does to go down, which means put them on high cabinets. Don't put them on the floor if you can avoid it. Now, will they work? Of course, they do work on the floor, but they don't work as effectively as if they are high up. So wherever your router is, the higher you can have it, the better you are. And then you can do this other thing. Since I have 2 buildings, my office is in a separate building, but it probably 10 feet. The sides of the house and this building are approximately, I'm going to say it's 10 feet apart. Okay. I'm on a little hill, and one building's down, but point being, I'm 5 feet apart, 10 feet apart, 10 feet apart between the 2 buildings. So I have hardwired between the router. The connection from the ISP comes into this building because this was my priority. My working space had to have the best connection. And then back to the house so that I have Netflix and Prime and all the wireless devices. I have a secondary router in the house, and that's one of these. This is an Asus, what is it? RTAX 82U. And it's a gigabit dual band. The one of them down here is a tri-band. This is a dual band that's in my house. Because what's going on in my house? I watch Netflix. I watch Prime. I mean, my television uses its internet connection is through this, which is basically a repeater. And then I'll even show you that little bit here. So this is my little control panel here, the good routers. Right now, this is the one where it comes in. I called it the garage just because that's a separate building. And then this is into the home, and everything starts here. Then this is a wireless connection that is going to this guy, and they're going under 5G. This one doesn't even do Wi-Fi 6. If I really needed it, because I owned it before. No, this one does Wi-Fi. I don't remember now. What does this one do? I'd have to check that out. I'm pretty sure this one does Wi-Fi 6, And I don't remember if this one does. But anyway, when I bought it, I don't know. It might do Wi-Fi 6, but it's only a dual band, and this is a tri-band, 3 bands. And so I bought more expensive stuff than most people need. Okay. But here's the cool thing. If I needed more coverage, like if I were doing a 3-level house, I would have a master router of my own, not the one that they give you. They are going to give you the cheapest thing that they can get away with. I look at some of these cheap ones. They're going to come in. They're really literally going to come in with the cheapest one that they can, um, and it's nothing close to this. When I do this, oh yeah, here it is. Here's their cable modem. It's inexpensive. That's fine. They're not. I don't want to say they don't care, but they don't care. They're really trying to cut costs. They're going to have tens of thousands of these things, and if they can cut $50 out of all of them, they're going to do that. So but the cable modem itself is fast enough. Just have your own router, and then when you do that, then you have control. And if I were in a 3-story, at a minimum, I would have, like I'm just going wireless between these because it's strictly my TV set, my phones. There's another computer in the house, and it all works fine over the wireless. Okay, because this is sitting in the house, so you can kind of see it right here. That guy's right there, and what that does is, oh yeah, and I'm seeing my wife is saying, yes, our cat pirate is fond of that router. See, it has these little antennae on it. It has 4 of them. And for some reason, she likes to scratch her neck against that. And it pushes, luckily, those antennas are really durable. It pushes them down, or in a funny, I always look up. It's on the top of my wife's like workstation type thing, and it's got a high shelf, and it is up about 6 feet high, that router. And the cat likes to jump up there and use this thing as a scratching, rubs her neck against it. So works great for her. And I have to just readjust the antennas. Luckily, the thing runs just fine, even if the antennas are in some funky position. So if you have cats, you know, bigger picture, have your routers up as high as you can get them. Put them on top of cabinets, basically within a couple feet of the ceiling. If you can, you'll get much better coverage. And if you're in a multi-story place where you need to go down 2 or 3 stories, what I would do is I would get a really good internet connection. The best router you can afford is your primary. And then this thing's 170, 180, if I remember right. What are they running? I think that's, it must be this one. $176. You can also get them at, they go on sale at different points, and they're really good. This is a great router. Okay, so it's Wi-Fi 6 as well. Okay, it's Wi-Fi 6, but it's only dual band, and the other one's tri-band and whatever. Most people don't need all that extra stuff. You could just have 2 of these, and they'd be fantastic in a larger place. Or if you're going down floors, I'd probably have one of these on every floor if I could pull it off. But start with 2 of them, see what your coverage is, and if you need to, buy more. Okay, buy more over time based on your coverage. But what I would do is, if you take speed test and you first have your original one, and so I have this one in my house, because of where it comes in, there's some parts of my house where this thing is just too far away to be effective. They have this mesh concept, and you can buy routers that are just designed for covering larger houses or larger spaces. I can add as many as I want of these routers, and they'll work as repeaters. But some of the repeaters that you can get that are just there are Wi-Fi extenders, and and those extenders, what they will do is they will take the signal off this, and they will do some slight amplification and make it work in a much wider range. Some of them, though, are not transparent in that. If you get all one brand, what happens is my phone will automatically switch. Well, this thing will switch my phone to the other one, whichever one it's closer to that has the more powerful signal. So as far as my phone's concerned, there's only one router in my whole house, and it works fine, and it doesn't need to think about it. It just switches as needed between the 2, and I don't notice it switching. It just does. So because the network names are the same, as far as the clients are concerned, the computers and the cell phones and all, they just kind of consider it all one, where behind the scenes it's multiples. So that just makes things easier. If I did have a multi-story house, though, I would have a main one, and I'd have one, and then I would be checking it. Am I getting most of the throughput over my Wi-Fi that I need? If I needed more, I would put another unit in here that's closer, because if you can get those too close, and I might run, and then the final thing is, if you start running wires, you get whatever your full output is. No, I should have done this earlier. It is going to be Cat 8, it's really Ethernet, hold on. Ethernet, you can do this, Ethernet Cat 8, and I need outdoor, okay? And here's the thing. I'll just take this one because it's pretty. You can now get cable that is burial. This is 100 feet of cable, and you can bury it. What does that mean? It's darn good cable in order to be that it can withstand being buried outside, which means you can run it out a window. Like, you could drill a small hole if you want, or have someone else do it, or you can have it go outside if your ISP put it in upstairs, and then it can run down, and you can get some little cable ties, and you can run it outside across the roof line and right down a downspout. And then if you want, you could run it. I mean, so if you needed to go to two places in the house, you can do this stuff, or you can go through ceilings. Mine, from me to my router, goes through an attic, and then I drilled one hole at the other end. There's a hole that's drilled in the wall to get into the attic, and then from the attic to get down to the router, there's another hole. And it just works amazingly well, and you get full throughput. I'm limited here because this router that I'm in, let me show you. I'm going to go back to this guy here, and is it management network? There it is. It shows me, even from this thing, I can see. So this 1 gig wire here is connected. This is what's connecting to my computer, and I can tell that. And then everything else in my house is all Wi-Fi. I just don't connect directly, with the exception of my wife's computer in the house is directly connected to this one. It's got a little wire that runs from here to her computer that's in the house. And that way, life's easy. Okay, so you run Wi-Fi where you can get away with it, and you don't need throughput because you're not working every day on this stuff. And on the other hand, when you have something that really benefits, like I upload and download just crazy amounts of audio on a regular basis, and having high uploads and download speed makes my life easy. People want to send me a WAV file that's 30 minutes. I'm like, cool. Doesn't ruin my day. It downloads really quickly because I have the setup to handle that, and this is hyper reliable. Note that as my neighbors add more Wi-Fi, and you can see this other one was when I was over my Wi-Fi connection, I turned off my piece of wire, and you can see I got much less throughput, although still respectable. This would be a great, I would have killed for this 5 years ago type thing. It's really great. But going 1,000 miles, those are really good numbers for a cable modem and Wi-Fi, but it doesn't touch what happens when I have the other stuff. Okay, so what you want to do is hardwire to your primary computer if you're uploading and downloading a lot of audio. Okay, now the only thing that happens if you don't, it's just slower. This is actually quite livable for 95% of us. I lived with this and worse for years. When you're on a cable modem, what happens is this side here, the uploads are very limited. You'll max out at maybe 40 megabits per second. And so I had great download speed. I was paying a lot of money back in my cable days. I had Spectrum, and I had whatever their highest end package was, and this maxed out at about 40, and now I max out at about 900. Okay, so there is a difference that I'm a little faster now. I could get the download speed if I paid enough, but I couldn't get the upload speed. The cable stuff was not optimized to deal with uploads, and so that's why I went to fiber. And if you can be there, be there. If you can't, well, it's just your uploads are slower. And for a lot of people, that won't make enough of a difference for them to worry about it. Okay, so get the best package you can from your ISP. Buy your own router and have them set it up that it'll connect to your router. I like these ASUS routers. I've been through this is my like 3rd generation of these over the last 15 years. Every few years, I end up buying a high-end one. I'm looking for the gamer ones, um, and but you don't have to spend this much money. I mean, when you get into something like this, these $100, $200 ones, they're pretty darn good routers. I do like the gamer stuff. They just have a bunch of little details that if you're kind of a nutcase about getting the most out of it, then do something like this. If you can hardwire, do it. Okay. And the cool thing is you can run it outside if you need to. And it really, if you staple it, I don't know, first off, go look around your house. For most people, they don't even realize that there's a wire or two running someplace outside their house anyway. There's wires running to the roof of your house for most of us. We don't have burial, but you can run between two buildings. And I've thought of and could run this way. I almost did it from my house to the router because, like I said, there's 10 feet between the two buildings, except for the Wi-Fi throughput that I'm getting off of the high-end router to the other router that's in the house is strong enough for everything that I do Netflix-wise, Prime. I don't get any delays on any of those because I have such I have a really good connection and all. And it's strong enough that for day-to-day use, I just don't notice that I'm on Wi-Fi. But I almost ran this between the two buildings. This is the kind of thing I was looking at. I think I would have had to go 150 feet between the two just because of the way I would have needed to route it. And you'll see when you do these things, I don't know, this brand doesn't have it, but most of them say, oh, no, it does have it. This is what I was looking for. You can go 200 feet safely with this stuff. And yeah, 200 feet is $90. And that would get, for most people, from any place to any place. And you could have done that, okay? So, and you can bury this stuff outside if you need to. That doesn't mean that you always have to bury it. It means that, hey, it can run underneath the eaves. It can run straight down on if you have a gutter system and you have downspouts, you can run it down right next to there. You can hide it and make it look nice. Cable ties, cable staples. Done that in a couple places, and it works out great. So if you need to run something and you can have a handy person come in and do it. You can do it yourself. It's not that tough. It's really just running a piece of wire and being good about stapling it to where it looks like it was always there. They do come in different colors if you really want to match your house. You could paint this stuff, but the bottom line is it's designed to be buried. And Cat 8 is what you want. Why? Do you need that speed? No. But it's such a hassle to put cable up someplace. Buy the best possible cable you can get, and then live with that. And that works really well. Of course, be sure the sponsors for this whole thing, VOjumpstart.com. I've got a great course on RX. I have a great course on Studio One. Conversational reads. We get great reviews on this. If you want to win more auditions, Marie McCann is brilliant at this. She's just one of the best for winning auditions. Okay, a lot of good stuff. So punch and roll an hour. A lot of good stuff going on here. So go to VOjumpstart.com. That's our sponsor, of course. That's who makes all this possible. And if you have a question, comment, I don't see anybody making a comment there, but you get a hold of me. Get the fastest connection you can. Hardwire as much to your main primary computer. Wi-Fi might be good enough, though, if it's good enough and you can test it and see what your throughput is. And note that you're paying for something, and you're only paying for something if you have a cable modem. You're paying to have that much bandwidth into this little device here. The Wi-Fi, it's going to go down. It's going to be less. And they will not guarantee you what this is because there's many other factors that go into that stuff, okay? So just know, whatever they're selling you, you're not going to get that much 100% through. And if you do need to, go ahead to one of these higher end routers because I buy them every 3-4 years. I get 4 years out of it, and then they'll have upgraded this enough that 4 or 5 years is what I've done before. I had the generation before this, which they don't sell anymore, but every few years I just get whatever their high-end one is at the time of my purchase. Okay, It has multi-core processors in them. It can run all these things. It could run. It's crazy. Businesses used to have this kind of stuff, and now we have it available to us for cheap. All right. I hope this helps. I hope you pay attention. I should say one thing. I did have to upgrade the network card in my computer. The computer card that I had originally before I went to cable was only good to, I think it was only good to, I don't remember. It was it was yeah, it was 1,000. It actually was, in theory, could handle this, but it didn't in practice. It got about 700 throughput, and I put in a 2.5 gig card. It cost me $49, and now my computer could run the full bandwidth of what I wanted. And you can do some other things with the high-end cards, but you don't, I mean, for what we're doing, you just don't need all that stuff. I wanted to make sure when I'm doing these videos that are live that I didn't have any equipment that was failing. Do you know how technically to switch from a cable? Yeah, what you have to do. Do I know technically? I know technically on mine, but it won't apply to yours. The problem is that basically your ISP will tell you. They're the ones to say, hey, I want to add my own router, and they probably have a control panel someplace. Like if I pull up my my Frontier app, then I can go ahead and configure it there, whether I tell it I just wanted to use the modem, and I want to instead have my own. So it's the same wire. It's just whether it's operating as a modem and a router. A router is what distributes everything out to your different computers. The modem is what takes the input from your service provider, your ISP, and converts it into signals that could run over your local network. So once you get to the router, then there is one internal, but they usually have less antennas. They're not as reliable. They don't have the kind of processors that these do. There's a bunch of other things there. So I don't know on yours, John. What you do have to do though is if you go to your ISP site, and but let me try. Watch this. Let's go. Pretend Spectrum modem configuration for external router. Let's see if that connecting your own router to your computer. Hey, there you go. See? So yes, I know. Of course I know. Actually, all I really know is how to use Google. Okay? And then it talks to you, connect the other end of the router, show more, turn on the router, connect the device, activate services. Anyway, it tells you you can try these steps, and then there is something that's specific right on their page, and they'll tell you how to do it, because it gives you a bunch of different options. That is the problem. And then they will tell you there's some place. What I don't know is this: some of these things, if you just plug in the right cables at the right places, then it recognizes that coming out of their connection, that if it's the right one to the right one, it'll just go, oh, they're doing their own router thing. But in most cases, it is going to be, you can get, they're going to say, you're going to have to contact them and ask them, because each one would be different. If you have Spectrum, you have one. I don't remember if you have Cox Communications. I don't remember all the other ones. There's definitely some other ones, and just query almost exactly what I did here. Spectrum modem configuration for external router. Use your ISPs there, and they'll tell you. So I've done it across almost, I've had Verizon, Spectrum, and now Frontier, which is, they bought out some of the AT&T stuff. Guarantee you can find it online though. So yeah, sorry, I don't know that. I mean, I wouldn't know your specific one. For those who are stuck at Spectrum in a condo with a sound booth, you suggest the highest speed and hardwire sessions through one of these routers. Yeah, that's so. By the way, I had Spectrum and I used it for multiple years, and I was impressed with the value for the money. In my case, at least here in LA, they had a spectacular connection. The thing is the upload speeds are slow relative to what you can get on cable. So your download speeds will be fantastic if you pay for the package. So I don't have any problem with them in terms of doing that. that does work great. And Cat 8 cable, you could get away with Cat 6 cable and be fine, but the cost differential between 6 and 8 is not enough on most runs to make any real difference. So I would always go for, if you're running wires, running wires is a pain, a one-time pain, and it's worth it, but you have to do some work to do it. So what I always do is I get whatever the current generation latest is, because they're always backward compatible, and it'd save you hassle if you get a higher end router in a year or two, or Spectrum comes out with something different and you need the additional capacity. If you just ran a higher end wire to begin with, it's just easier. So I always recommend it'll be a rounding error in 2 years. You just won't notice it, because it's going to be an extra $20 for the cable that's Cat 8 versus Cat 7 versus Cat 6. It's by the way, for those that don't know, wiring Ethernet cables are different ratings. I don't remember what Cat stands for, but someone could throw that in there. And Spectrum's fine. You can make the most of it though if you hardwire things, because once you go to Wi-Fi, you are subject to what's around you, and it can vary from day to day because of what your neighbors are doing. Okay, it's similar to if I'm traveling on the freeway. The freeway in the middle of the night's fantastic because there's nobody out there. And then in the middle of at rush hour, there's a lot of congestion, and so it can take longer to get things. You still can get there. And it may not affect you. So use speed tests to test yours at different times of the day and see if you're still getting your max speed, whatever that is, at all times of the day. It means you don't have any interference with anybody else. You're maxing out your stuff. If you're paying for, say, Spectrum, and you have 500 megabits a second down and 40 up, and then you go and test it and you go, wow, I'm supposed to have 500, but I get 150. Okay, I mean, I got a lot less here. So you get 150 off your Wi-Fi, and this is, instead of being 40, it's 30. Then you go, okay, I might as well hardwire. If I hardwire, I'll at least get the max I can get. But if you're getting a high number there, whatever your number is, based on the service you're getting, then you may not need the hardwired. Okay, but it's more reliable, and you'll always get the same thing all the time. If you check your Wi-Fi, download the same app, speed test, on your phone, and then you can test your Wi-Fi connection from different spots in your house. And that's always a fun thing to do as well. I mean, you'll be amazed at how much it varies from place to place to place. Okay, all right. And yeah, I got Spectrum. Spectrum actually was very good in my location. The thing is once I had cable, I realized, ooh, the upload speeds are so much faster. And we do both, but we still download a lot more than we upload. We watch more video, we're watching things, and as long as you're watching things, that's all download speed. Upload it though is when I'm working, and it's working, not working. It's working. When you're working, without the G, of course, then you want to get done with work as soon as possible so you can go do something else, or deliver something to your client as soon as possible. Or if you're uploading a book, hey, it takes a while if you're on a slower connection, but boy, I've done it, and everyone here has done it, so you can do it. It's just if you can swing it, yeah, get the higher end connections. All righty. Yep, I'm looking at my questions there. And anyway, Spectrum was really good for me, with the exception of, since it's cable, it never was going to get the upload speeds that you can get out of fiber. So I do say, if you can pull it off, if it's available in your area, go to it. It's absolutely worth it, and you just cannot believe how quick things can get done. All right. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. And if you have questions, comments, be sure to comment on this. It's really helpful if afterward. Be sure to subscribe, comment, pass this to other people that need help with this stuff. There's a whole playlist for this. So, of course, I look forward to seeing you on the wires. Have a great week. Bye-bye.